Hey Jamie, great message. It really fed me, and I have one question for you, and it's evangelistic and slant, and we're going to be
Yeah.
talking a lot about that this coming year.
Yep.
And so my question is, how do you share the gospel, which is spiritual,
Right.
with a friend or a coworker or neighbor who only believes in what they see?
No, that's a great question. I mean, one of the good news of today, the day we're living in, is that, if this was 50 years ago, this would have been the type of incidents where people had bought so much into the physical, what we call modernism, and in the days of Darwinian evolution and stuff like that, that back in the 50s, it really was hard to share spiritual things. The good news about our culture today is, I don't know if you guys have noticed or not, but sometime around the 90s, culture started to swing once more to being wide open to spiritual things. Now, that's different than saying that they're Christian. That's different than saying that they love everything or even agree with everything they read in the Bible. But you got TV shows like Medium and things like that, in which, you look at primetime television and there's so much about the spiritual. It's just that obviously people are very confused about the spiritual. But the reason that's important is because I bounce off of that when I share Christ with lost people, to simply say that obviously we live in a culture, and maybe even that person is open to a spiritual reality. And if you can open the door that much, is there a spiritual realm? Then I believe there's a clear pathway, obviously, and a logical pathway to Jesus. It's actually an age-old apologetics teaching, is that if we can just get to proving the existence of God, this is what C.S. Lewis did, even the moral standard of right and wrong that exists in every culture, then the pathway, the next step to Jesus is like a no-brainer. Because if you can admit there's a spiritual realm, then certainly Jesus, who came to be the way, the truth, and the life, is the pathway within that spiritual realm. So if somebody's really digging their heels in and says, I don't believe it all in the spiritual realm, it's all material, it's all physical, I would just continue to stay in the ring with them. I'd continue to ask a lot of questions about just the nature of reality itself. How do they explain love? How do they explain the whole idea of consciousness? In other words, there's things in the moral universe that we live in that have no explanation in the physical realm. They beg spirituality, even the argument of first cause. In other words, if we live in a materialist-only universe, what was the original cause of that? Was there ever a time in which it was immaterial, or is material eternal? And if it is, how did that get here? I mean, don't be afraid to ask a lot of questions about the nature of a physical-only view of the universe. And again, then when they have any openness at all, just point them to the Lord, point them to Jesus, because as Peter said, he is the one who holds the keys and the truths to eternal life.